This shit.
I might be too strung out on compliments, overdosed on confidence, started not to give a fuck and stop fearing the
He
consequences.
says he's going to need you to step aside for additional screening. It takes 40 minutes. They swab your hands and your bag for explosive residue. They go through everything, slowly, thoroughly. 2 agents, while your flight boards without you in the background, and they are polite, and they will not tell you why you were selected, and eventually they let you go, and you make your flight by 2 minutes, heart pounding, and you tell yourself it was random.
Yo, what's going
That's
on,
what
Nick?
everyone tells themselves the first time. It was random. It has to have been random. Because the alternative,
Yo,
that
Noah,
it was
welcome
not
back, bro.
random,
It's good to see
that
you, man.
specifically were chosen, opens a door.
We're learning how to become a terrorist. Well, not really. I don't want to say it like that.
You are not ready to walk through, and so you fold the boarding pass into your pocket,
You saw the title. You know what I mean.
and you get on the plane, and you forget about the 4 letters, for now. Level 2. The pattern. It happens again on the way home. And on the next trip, and the one after that, every single flight, the 4 letters, the step aside, the swab, the
But he said, yo, is that the young Grippo? Hey, Lil Grippo, what you know about it?
40 minutes, and somewhere
Little inside joke there, buddy.
around the 4th or 5th time, the word random dies in your mouth. Because random
Yo, what's up, Zachary?
doesn't happen every time. Random isn't a pattern, and this is a pattern. This is the most consistent thing in your life now, and you begin to feel it before you even get to the airport. The dread,
I brought a little surprise.
the arriving 3
I don't want to get restricted.
hours early because, you always know that you'll be pulled. You start to recognize the specific look agents give your boarding pass. You start to plan around it, and the thing that gets under your skin, deeper than the inconvenience, deeper than the missed connections, is that no one will ever say the words out loud. No one will ever tell you that you are on something. You just are treated, everywhere, by everyone in a uniform, as a person who requires a closer look, and you cannot point.
I would hate that. What if you weren't a terrorist, though? What if you weren't a terrorist? You were just going through fucking TSA. You get pulled off to the side, and they're like, no, you're definitely a terrorist, bro. Who do you work for? Who's your company, bro? Like, what country are you from? Like, really, dude? You just pulled me aside when I'm clearly not a fucking agent. When you got Epstein out here, dude.
To the moment
We're not thinking about Epstein now.
it began,
No one's talking about Epstein anymore. What the fuck happened to that, dude?
or the reason it exists. You can only feel the machine's attention on you, steady and wordless.
Rubber.
And you understand, dimly, that you have become a name that makes a computer somewhere quietly light up. Level
Yo.
3. The non-answer. So you try to find out. There is a process. You learn a thing called the Traveler Redress Inquiry Program, DHS TRIP, and you fill it out. You explain the pattern. You ask the simple question that any reasonable person would ask, am I on a list, and why? And you submit it into the machine and you wait.
Does that make you more sus, though? Do they get more suspicious of you when you send a letter in asking if you're on a terrorist watch list, bro?
And months
Does that make you more suspicious of being a terrorist?
later, you receive a letter,
But you gotta know, right?
and the letter is a masterpiece of saying nothing. It thanks you for your inquiry. It informs you that they can neither confirm nor deny whether you are in any terrorist screening database.
How? How can you not tell me if I'm being watched by the fucking FBI, CIA? Like, how can you not tell me if there's somebody on my ass or if I'm on a terrorist list?
Because
How can you not tell me that?
that information is protected, and it tells you
But it's me asking.
that they have reviewed your case and taken any action deemed appropriate, which may have been no action, they won't say, and it gives you a redress control number as though a number is an answer, and it wishes
Why not tell me if I had to submit this form asking if I'm on a terrorist watch list, bro? And you're gonna send a form back saying we can't tell you. What's the point of the process?
you safe travels. You read it 4 times. You went looking for a door, and they handed you a description of a wall. You were
Yo,
never
welcome in,
charged.
Biz.
You were never told. You were just quietly decided about by someone you'll
I
never
appreciate
meet
the support, bro.
on the basis of something you're not allowed to know. And the one official channel that exists to challenge it has just formally informed you that it will not tell you whether there is anything to challenge.
I
There
didn't
is
even
no
fucking like
door
it.
marked appeal that actually opens. Level 4. The spread. You could live with the airports. You tell yourself that. You adjust. You fly less. You drive when you can. But the list was never only about airports, and you learn this the way you learn everything about it. by walking into a wall you didn't know was there. A loan you should easily qualify for is denied, and the denial letter mentions a government list your name was screened against.
No way, bro. Because people are actually using those fucking lists or those loans to go out and buy homes and cars and take care of their families and stuff. Now, I've never personally had a loan. I'm only 20 years old. I've never even had to even think about that. However, I do know people who are not terrorists, probably, but who are definitely taking out loans. And if they were got denied, bro, they probably would have lost whatever the fuck they were taking out that loan for. They probably would have lost it. I couldn't imagine. You're not a terrorist, right? You get told you're a terrorist by the government. The government doesn't tell you why you're a terrorist or why you're being watched as one. But you're still getting denied for all these things.
Vaguely, in language you can't quite pin down, and the loan officer avoids your eyes. A job offer, a good one, evaporates 2 days after the background check. No reason given, just a sudden coolness and a "we've decided to go another direction." You apply to renew a professional license, and it stalls in a review that never seems to end. A wire transfer to a family member overseas is held, then reversed. The bank citing compliance obligations it won't explain. You begin to notice that the database does not stay in one place, that it was built to be shared, exported outward to the agencies that screen for travel, and the ones that screen for immigration, and the ones that guard military bases, and the systems that banks are required to check. A single entry radiating out into every institution that might ever run your name, so that being on one list is really being on all of them at once.
Yo, welcome
Your
in,
name
man.
flagged in a dozen systems you didn't know existed.
Again, you don't know why you're on these fucking systems. You don't know why you're being watched by all these government agencies. You have no idea why you're on the terrorist watch list. And you have to do it.
Each one making
That's just something I couldn't fathom, bro. It's like North Korea,
its own
but in America.
quiet decision about you. And then the one that truly frightens you, a routine traffic stop, a broken taillight, nothing. Except the officer takes your license back to his car and is gone too long. And when he returns, there is a second cruiser pulling up behind him, and his hand is near his
Yo,
belt,
welcome in.
and his voice has changed, and he is treating you, over a taillight, like a man who might be dangerous because when he ran your name,
It popped up on a terrorist watch list. That's so insane. He's not a terrorist.
came back flagged, exported from the same database into the system every cop in the country queries, and now a minor traffic stop is a situation, and you sit with your
You're
hands
welcome in,
visible
man.
on the wheel, very still, understanding for the first time that the list is not a travel inconvenience, it is a status. It is a thing you now are in the eyes of the state, everywhere you go, all the time, silently attached to your name like a second identity you never applied for. Level 5. The reason, or the shape of it.
Is this where we finally find out how and why I'm a terrorist?
Become, out of necessity, a student of the thing that has swallowed your life, and what you learn is worse than not knowing. You learn that the standard for placing a person on the watch list is not
No, because I would actually go batshit insane too. Now, you might look at this image here, bro. Look at this. He has all these fucking things mapped out. He hasn't cleaned in probably 3 weeks, but I would too. He live here at the airport, changed his entire life. He can't fly no more. He's forced to fucking Uber around because he's on a terrorist watch list, and he has no clue why, and he's about to finally find out.
proof, is not charges, is
Yo,
not
welcome
even
in.
the ordinary threshold police need to arrest you. It is something called reasonable suspicion, a bar so low that a single agent's belief, based on fragments, on associations, on patterns, a computer flagged, can be enough. You learn the list holds well over 1 million names. You learn people end up on it for the thinnest of reasons. A donation to a charity that later
I'm gonna let him finish.
drew scrutiny. A relative who drew scrutiny. A trip to the wrong country. Attendance at the
The wrong country? I thought we weren't allowed to go to the fucking countries that we weren't allowed to go to. What is the wrong country? That almost sounds racist.
wrong mosque. A name that resembles someone else's name closely enough that a database couldn't tell you apart. And that any of these, none of which is a crime, can be enough to mark you, permanently, invisibly. And you learn the cruelest structural fact of all, which is that the system is built to grow and not to shrink. That adding a name requires only suspicion, while removing one requires someone to affirmatively decide the suspicion was wrong. And no analyst is ever punished for leaving a name on, and no analyst wants to be the one who took a name off the day before. That name did something, So the incentives all run one direction, toward keeping you, toward
Yo,
caution,
welcome in.
toward the permanent benefit of the doubt, going not to the citizen, but to the database. And the result is a list that accretes people and almost never releases them, a place names go into and do not come out of. And it is in this level, in a back room at an airport where you have both been pulled aside for the 100th time, that you meet Marcus. He's older,
I've met him, Marcus.
calm in a
He's a good guy.
way that only comes from having been angry for a very long time and burned through it. And he sees you doing the thing new people do, the arguing, the demanding to know why. And he catches your eye across the little room and gives a small shake of his head. Not now, not here. It doesn't work. And afterward, outside, he buys you a coffee and he tells you he's been on it for 11 years, and he still doesn't know why, and he has stopped expecting to. Marcus becomes the only person who understands. That's what the list takes from you. That's hardest to explain to anyone outside it. The way it isolates you, because you sound insane describing it. You sound paranoid. A secret government list. No way to confirm it. No way to
Yo,
fight it.
welcome in.
Ruining your life through 1,000 small doors. And normal people's eyes glaze because it can't be real. This is America. There are courts. There are rights. Marcus knows it's real. Marcus has a briefcase, an actual battered briefcase, and in it, held together with rubber bands, are years of boarding passes, every single one stamped with the 4 letters, hundreds of them, a decade of SSS, and he shows it to you the way another man might show you photographs of his children. Keep everyone, he tells you. Keep every boarding pass they ever pull you on. It's the only proof that a thing they won't admit exists is real. For the day, someone finally asked.
So are they just doing this to do it then? He's not an actual terrorist. He has shown no signs.
He says that last part quietly. For the day someone finally asks, and you realize he has been waiting 11 years for someone with the power to demand
11 years. Imagine that, bro. You haven't even you don't know why you're there, bro. You can't fly, you can't leave, you live at the airport. Your mind's going insane, bro. 11 years you don't know why.
answer to simply ask him the question, and no one ever has, and he keeps the passes anyway because the alternative is admitting that the erasure is total, that they can do this to a man and leave not even a record behind, and Marcus will not give them that. So he keeps his stack, his paper proof, his rubber-banded evidence of a wound the government won't confirm it inflicted. Level 6. The redress trap. You do what Marcus was too tired to keep doing, you lawyer up, you fight, and what you find in
Yeah, so would have done that on the day, 4.
the fighting is the most maddening thing yet, which is that you are right, that you were right the whole time, and it changes nothing. Your lawyer tells you that courts have looked at this system and recoiled from it, that a federal judge ruled the redress process unconstitutional because it deprived citizens of due process, that another court found the whole database, as applied, violated the Constitution, that judges have said in writing that the risk of erroneous placement is high and the safeguards inadequate. You feel a surge of hope reading these rulings, because surely, if courts have said this, then there is relief. And then you learn the second half, which is that the system persists anyway, that it was adjusted at the margins and rolled on, that people who win partial victories still can't get a straight answer, that the process can grind for years
But will he get off the list?
and end with a letter as empty as the first one.
If Epstein could get out of it, bro. I mean,
Your lawyer explains the trap at the center of it with the
Yo,
flat
welcome
voice
in,
of a
RJ.
man who
It's
has
good to see you,
explained
buddy.
it many times, that to win a case, you normally have to know what you're accused of, and you are not allowed to know, that the government can defend your placement using classified information. It shows to the judge but never to you or your lawyer, so that you are fighting an accusation you cannot see, made of evidence you
it's not real.
cannot examine, in a proceeding where the other side gets to whisper to the referee in a language you're not permitted to hear. It is not a fair fight made difficult. It is a fight designed, at the level of its architecture, so that you can never actually land a blow, because you are swinging at something the court itself has agreed to keep invisible to you. And so even winning is a kind of losing, because you can pour years and a fortune into it and arrive at the end, back at the wall, holding a document that neither confirms you were on the list nor promises you're off it. And you understand that the machine's deepest cruelty is not that it's unbeatable, it's that it won't even tell you the score. Level 7. The permanent shadow.
Yeah, kind of a problem. You don't even know what you're fighting against, brother. You don't even know what you're fighting against. You don't even know what level of the game you're on. How are you going to get to the finish, bud?
You stop flying mostly. You reorganize your life around the thing, the way you'd reorganize around a chronic illness, learning its triggers, avoiding its flares, building a smaller life that fits inside the space it leaves you. And you go looking for Marcus because you haven't seen him in a while, and you want to tell him you understand now, that you're sorry you ever thought he'd given up when really he'd just done the math a decade before you, and you find out that Marcus is gone. Not dead, or maybe dead, you're never sure.
We need to be sure. Where's Marcus?
The man you knew from back rooms doesn't leave a trail you can follow, but gone. Someone says he finally left the country, moved somewhere his name meant nothing, somewhere he could get on a plane
Marcus made it out!
like a person, and you hope that's true. You hope he's somewhere right now walking through an ordinary gate with an ordinary boarding pass and no 4 letters on it, but you don't know. You'll never know. That's the nature of everyone the list touches. They vanish into its silence. What you know is that before he went, he left something with the one contact you shared, for you, and it's the briefcase, the rubber-banded decade of boarding passes, his proof, handed to you the way a dying man hands on the thing he couldn't finish, and there's a note. And the note says only, for the day, someone finally asks, and no one has asked.
Why not? Why is no one curious?
That's how it ends, which is to say it doesn't end.
Are you fucking me? We just watched a 15-minute video. Hold on, regroup. We just watched a 15-minute video and we just find out that this guy is just gonna live there.
You have 2 stacks now, his and your own growing one, the boarding passes accumulating in the same battered briefcase, 4 letters at a time, year after year.
Blows my
The only
mind.
physical
Check out the new
evidence
shirt,
that any
bro.
of this
I
was
designed
ever
it
done to
myself.
either of you, and you keep them for the same reason he did. Not because you believe the day is coming when someone with the power to demand an answer will finally sit across from you and ask the question, but because keeping them is the last thing they can't take, the last refusal available to a man they decided about without telling him, without charging him, without ever once letting him face the accusation or the accuser. You were never a terrorist. You were never anything but a name that lit up a screen for a reason you'll go to your grave not knowing. And somewhere in a building you'll never enter, in a database you're not allowed to see, next to a standard of suspicion so low it barely qualifies as a reason, your name still sits.
Wow, kind of an L, bro. Kind of an L. We don't even know. We don't even know how it ends, brother. How do we dream? The psychology behind it. We're gonna appeal that. Yeah, let's do that. Let's fight this, RJ. RJ, something else, brother. Gang. Let's do it. Let's fight it, bro. We always fight it, bro. We're gonna beat this case real quick. Yeah. No, we definitely gonna do that. No sound detected. RJ, can you hear me, brother? Brother boy. Yeah, you can. Fuck it. We're gonna run the next video. We're gonna get restricted as soon as we open YouTube, brother. As soon as YouTube's open, we're bricked. I don't even care. Let's run it. I gotta get these YouTube videos out. Gotta get these YouTube videos out, brother.
Has Kyrie texted you back?
I don't want to
Keep
talk about it.
pushing.
How was the math test?
Every night, more than 8 billion people on Earth enter a very strange state while they sleep. Your body becomes completely paralyzed. You drift through vivid hallucinations for hours, and then you wake up, almost forgetting everything that just happened. But here's the shocking part. That loss of control state is actually a superpower. In 1862, a chemist was stuck trying to figure out the structure of benzene. Frustrated, he fell asleep. In his dream, he saw snakes curling into circles and biting their own tails. Boom.
Oh my god, could you really imagine that though, bro? That's the first dream ever recorded. Yuck.
The answer appeared, and it completely changed modern chemistry. The same thing happened to Paul McCartney. He woke up and the legendary song Yesterday was already fully formed in his mind. In other
All my troubles gonna. Do you know that song? Yesterday.
words, your brain can solve complex problems, even while you're asleep. But to do that, it puts aside its usual logic, mixes memories together, creates a distorted and irrational world, and then leaves you with only a vague feeling when you wake up. So what are dreams really? Why does the brain need such a strange mechanism every single night? Today, we're going to decode one of the most mind-bending mysteries of the human experience, and the real science behind dreams. First, we need to rewind time to an old laboratory at the University of Chicago in 1952. There, a researcher named Eugene Asarinsky had an idea that people back then thought was very strange: staying up all night just to watch other people sleep. At the time, scientists believed that when we sleep, the brain simply shuts off like a light bulb. But when Asarinsky hooked electrodes up to his son's
He tested it out on his own son, bro. Remember, this is like the development stages, dude. He did not know if this was gonna work.
head and other volunteers, he was surprised. After a few hours of calm, deep sleep, their brains suddenly lit up. Brainwaves started going wild, as if they were awake solving calculus problems or racing in a Formula One competition. And most fascinating of all, their eyes. Under closed eyelids, their eyeballs were darting back and forth rapidly, like they were
So our eyes are continuous.
watching a high-speed tennis match up close. They called it REM, rapid eye movement sleep. And every time Asarinsky woke a volunteer right when their eyes were moving like that, most of them would shout, "Oh my God, I was just having an incredibly vivid dream."
Not all of them would fucking say that, bro. Get off my dick.
So what's actually happening inside your head at that moment? There are 4 extremely important biological changes. First is complete paralysis. Your brainstem sends a powerful chemical signal to lock down your major muscles. Why? It's a smart safety mechanism from nature. It stops you from accidentally swinging your arm and punching your spouse while dreaming you're an MMA fighter in the ring. Without this system, dreams would turn into real-life
I don't even got to be dreaming. I dare that. Oh,
Disaster.
I dare her.
disasters. Second is realistic hallucination. During REM sleep, your visual cortex becomes highly active, making dream images incredibly vivid. That's why in dreams, colors look bright and details feel unbelievably sharp.
I always thought it was because I was incredibly stoned. I really don't go to bed unless I'm like stupid baked. So when I do have a dream, which is like once a year probably anymore, I don't know. I've been smoking since probably like 14, 15 on a regular. And I probably have a dream probably like once a year. And when I do, it's pretty terrifying. It's intense. I almost feel like I can control it. But the colors are definitely bright, and I always felt like it was because I was stoned.
To your brain, seeing with imagination at that moment can feel even more real than seeing with your eyes. Third is the disappearance of logic. This is the part I find the funniest. The prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for reasoning,
Doesn't develop until you're 25 fully, and so I use that all the time. I get out of shit.
judgment, and self-control, suddenly becomes much less active. That's why in your dream, riding a giant chicken to go buy bubble tea feels totally normal and reasonable. You don't question it at all until you wake up and think, what on earth did I just dream? And finally, memory
RJ, I got a whole shotty on the way, bro.
wipe mode. The chemicals needed to form long-term memories, especially norepinephrine, drop to very low levels. It's like your brain is saying, hey, all this crazy, illogical stuff doesn't need to be saved to the hard drive. Just delete it. That's why just 10 minutes after waking up, most of your dream details quickly fade away.
But you always remember the most dramatic part, dude. I always remember, look, I'll have a dream. Look, I'll have a dream, dude, and it's just Abe Lincoln's head, bro, with a Sour Patch Kid's body riding a skateboard down a fucking hill. And then the only part I'll remember is them hitting a fucking tree. I don't know why they got the skateboard. I don't know, or I don't know why he got the skateboard. I don't know where he got the idea from. But dude, the only thing I remember is Abe Lincoln on a Sour Patch Kid body riding a skateboard down a hill and hitting a fucking tree.
That's the perfect setup for a high-end virtual reality movie theater inside your skull, where you're the director, the main
Again, I'm always stoned when I go to bed, so that really doesn't help.
character and the only audience at the same time. But this movie theater doesn't run randomly all night long. It follows a very strict schedule that scientists call the sleep cycle. Each night you go through about 4 to 6 cycles, and each one lasts around 90 minutes. Think of it like a roller coaster ride.
Someone order a college degree
Come on.
program? There's a
I
college
don't care
in
if I
there.
hit
Hey,
$1 billion, bro. I could hit $1 billion. I will never buy fucking YouTube ad free, bro. I will never buy YouTube ad free. I say it every stream.
Light sleep, called NREM1 and 2, short for non-rapid eye movement, meaning this is the stage where that fast eye movement of REM hasn't shown up yet. At this point, you can be easily awakened by a small noise or even the sound of your cat walking by. Next, the ride drops deep into the stage of deep sleep called NREM3. This is when delta waves, which are long, slow, powerful brain waves, take over. During this stage, your body is doing maintenance work such as repairing tissues, building muscle, and strengthening your immune system. If you get woken up here, you will feel extremely groggy and disoriented. And then, once the body has been taken care of, the brain suddenly goes, all right, time for some entertainment. The roller coaster shoots back up, taking you into
And that's when you wake up with some morning. So that's when you wake up with some morning wood, bro.
REM sleep. This is when the most vivid dreams happen. Here's something interesting. Sleep cycles are not the same throughout the night. In the first half of the night, your brain focuses more on deep sleep to recover the body. But as morning gets closer, REM stages become longer and more frequent. That's why the weirdest, longest, and most memorable dreams usually happen around 5 to 6 a.m., right before that annoying alarm clock goes off and ruins everything. And you know what? Humans aren't the only ones who dream. Scientists have observed REM sleep in most mammals and even birds. Even your dog dreams. If you see your dog sleeping with its legs twitching and making little growling sounds, there's a good chance it's dreaming about chasing a giant squirrel in its own private dream park. And this is where the story starts to get even more interesting. Before Eugene Azarinsky discovered REM sleep in 1952, humans had no real idea what was happening inside the mind during sleep. Without brain scanners or electrodes, for thousands of years, people tried to explain this movie theater using imagination and religious beliefs.
Oh, God. Oh, God. I want to know. I hope he goes into some of the beliefs, bro.
Take the ancient Egyptians. To them, dreams were not created by the brain, but were direct messages from the gods. They valued dreams so much that they even built sleep temples. People would go there, fall into a deep sleep, and the next morning, professional dream interpreters would help decode the will of the gods. And their interpretations were pretty fascinating. If you dreamed of dying in a terrible way, don't worry, the Egyptians said that was a good sign, meaning you would live a long life.
Probably okay. So I can see where they're saying that though, because if you're dreaming that you're of a terrible death, that you're gonna die like in a very bad way, then you're more a person who lives with more anxiety than rather than somebody who's dreaming about Abe Lincoln on a Sour Patch Kid body riding a fucking skateboard down a hill. That guy is probably living like he doesn't fucking care. Like he has an OnlyFans model on the way over to his house right now. Like that guy does not give a fuck.
If you dreamed about peeing into the Nile River, congratulations, your crops would thrive and money would flow in like water. Back then, dreams were basically like a weather forecast for your fate. This idea lasted for centuries, until the early 20th century when one of the most controversial figures appeared, Sigmund Freud. He was the one who pulled dreams down from the divine world back into the human mind. In 1900, Freud published his groundbreaking book, The Interpretation of Dreams. He proposed a theory that still makes people blush today. Freud believed that dreams are the royal road to the unconscious. According to him, every dream is a wish in disguise. Do you have hidden desires, dark urges that society and morality will not allow you to act on while awake? Do not worry, your brain lets you act them out in your dreams. But because these desires can be embarrassing, the brain uses symbols to encode them. For example, dreaming about a key or a stick, well, according to Freud, it often relates to male genitalia. Then his student, Carl Jung, took the idea even further. Jung believed that dreams are not just about personal desires, but also contain shared symbols of all humanity, like the hero, the wit, or the monster. To Jung, dreams are the mind's way of helping us become more balanced and whole. For a long time, Freud and Jung made the whole world believe this. Every dream is a coded message waiting to be solved. And if you don't understand your dreams, it means you're missing out on a huge secret about yourself. But when modern brain imaging tools like fMRI and
I definitely want to learn how to dream better. Like I want to know how to dream more often without having to stop smoking pot.
PET scans came along, neuroscientists started to notice a harsh reality. The brain during dreams works in a very mechanical and practical way. They began to move away from Freud and Jung. Instead of asking, what does this dream mean? They asked a more survival-focused question. Why would evolution keep such an energy-consuming and risky mechanism like dreaming? And from there, the 5 biggest modern scientific theories were born. The first theory, activation synthesis theory. This one is probably the most boring. Scientists suggest that dreams don't really have any deep meaning at all. During REM sleep, your brainstem sends out random, chaotic electrical signals to the cortex. Imagine your brain like a kid randomly flipping light switches on and off. Your cortex, the part responsible for making sense of the world, suddenly receives a bunch of messy signals. It panics. It can't leave things chaotic, so it tries to stitch together those random images and sounds into a story that makes some kind of sense. The result? A crazy dream is born. In other words, dreams are just your brain trying to find patterns in chaos. It's like looking at cracks on a wall and imagining you see a face. The second theory,
I run a podcast solo. No producer, no editor.
Matter. You could be a hater your whole life. You could be a hater your whole life, dog. It won't matter. I'm skipping it.
theory. This is the most widely supported theory today. Scientists see dreams as the brain's save button. All day long, you collect tons of information, learning a new language, practicing a piece of music, or even remembering what your coworker wore this morning. At night, during dreams, the brain starts sorting everything out. It's like a librarian cleaning up a messy pile of books. It decides what's important to store in long-term memory and what should be thrown away. In 2010, researchers ran a famous experiment. They had volunteers practice a very difficult 3D maze on a computer. One group took a nap and dreamed about the maze, while the other group just rested or slept without dreaming about it. The result? The group that dreamed about the maze solved it much faster later in the day. This showed that when you dream about something you're learning, your brain is actually practicing and improving that skill in the background.
I always felt like you were just more stressed about it. I always felt like if you were just learning something and your brain is so hyper-focused on it, I felt like you were just more stressed out about it than anything. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you were just more like growing on it or if you were more just stressed out because you were still learning.
The third theory, threat simulation theory. Do you have nightmares? Have you ever dreamed about being chased, falling, or being attacked? Of course you have. I'd bet all of us have at some point. So why does that happen? Evolutionary psychologists believe dreams are like a virtual reality training room for survival. Our ancestors lived in a world full of predators and enemies. If you dreamed about running from a saber-toothed tiger, your brain was practicing real survival responses. How to run faster, where to hide. Because you are in a safe place, your bed, you can rehearse the most
I low-key gotta wrap this up. I ain't even gonna lie. Later.